You guys are super busy. I mean, you have a weekly podcast. How the hell do you do that?
It's tough at times.
It is tough.
Because I couldn't do it. So I'll just say that right now, you already have my unrivaled envy just at your sheer energy level. So that's very impressive. But before we get all to that... I'm your host, Sergio Angelini, and welcome to Tipping My Fedora, where we discuss movies, books, TV, radio, and much more besides, all from the darker side of the street. My guests today are the crime writers and podcasters Luke Deckard and Matthew Booth, who together host the Mean Streets podcast devoted to film noir. Today, we're chatting about movie remakes. Can they ever be better than the original? Let's snap the brim on our fedoras and find out. Well, hello, Luke and Matthew. Thank you so much for appearing on the podcast. It's very good of you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
So, can you tell me a little bit about Mean Streets, your fantastic podcast? Who came out with it? How did it start?
Well, should I take this, Matt?
You take this, Luke.
Okay. So I had been running a kind of a little YouTube show for a bit, and I was just talking about and reacting to pop culture news and films and things like that. And one episode that I did was with Matt, and we did a film noir episode. We were going to talk about a whole bunch of film noirs. It ended up being a 3-hour long episode, one that people responded to really well. And then at some point I was just getting bored of doing these weekly shows on my own, on YouTube and stuff, and thought, let's do something fun and with someone who's interested in something that I'm interested in. And I thought, hey, Matt. And so I contacted him. I was like, hey, should we do like a film noir podcast? And he was like, yeah. It's like, cool. And then rest is history. We sort of and awed and thought up a name, and we didn't really go in having like a solid structure of how we wanted the episodes to be and what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. We sort of just said, let's do it. Let's pick a big movie to kick off with. Went with Bogart's The Big Sleep. That was well received, and just sort of been figuring things out along the way and enjoying the ups and downs and the ride that it is.
Welcome to Tipping My Fedora, and I have an icebreaker question that I believe you are in the perfect position to answer. So, one of you two needs to tell me, what is your definition of film noir? Or rather, I'd like you both to tell me, but not at the same time.
Matt?
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
I think film noir is a style of telling crime fiction stories. It's sort of grown into being a genre of its own, but I don't think it's set out as such. It was more a style of filmmaking that was adapted for crime thrillers. To me, it's the sort of tougher brother of the British mystery, in that there is always a mystery, but there's seldom a puzzle. It's about much higher stakes. It's about much more gritty and realistic themes than the traditional British murder mystery. And it's filled with fatalism, the chaos of chance, coincidence, bad luck. And it's about the little man against the big corruption in the world. It's a type of crime fiction that what I find engrossing about it is it asks more questions than it solves. Whereas a lot of crime fiction asks questions and then solves them. Noir doesn't do that. Noir lets you go away and think about it.
So, Luke, can you beat that?
I mean, there's not really, no. I can add to that, I suppose, a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I mostly agree with what Matt's saying there. It's for me, noir is it's always been like a cynical examination of the world and how we function in chaos. It's something that's very stylized. It's stylistic. I think Matt pretty much summed up all the other little bits and pieces of what noir is. But yeah, so I concur.
So we're in complete agreement. So, Luke, what was the first film you saw that you thought was, oh, this is film noir?
Oh, that is a really good question. I have no idea what that would have been. Probably the Maltese Falcon. I remember watching all the like black and whites when I was a kid. Humphrey Bogart kind of movies. So it probably would have been something along those lines. The one that it's technically not a film noir, but I think a film noir adjacent really would probably be a toss up between either Hitchcock's To Catch a Thief or From Russia with Love, which they're not full on noir. They're past the era, but they're still quite influenced by that period. Those would be ones that I could remember from a kid watching. So I can't go back and say, oh, when I was 8 years old, I watched, blah, 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 I remember it like it was yesterday. But yeah.
Lightweight.
I know.
How can you not remember your first film noir? No. I think that makes total sense. And I think for most of us, it probably is something like The Maltese Falcon or something with Bogart in it, let's face it. How about you, Matt?
I can't remember for certain, but I have a sneaking suspicion it was Bogart's Big Sleep. And the reason I say that is that I know for a fact, because I remember buying it, my first noir novel was The Lady in the Lake. And I think it's likely, being me, that I will have gone and bought a Raymond Chandler because I had watched a Raymond Chandler. So it's possible it was The Maltese Falcon, but I think on the balance of probabilities, because of the purchase of that book, it's probably The Big Sleep.
Well, terrific films, both of them. I've had guests on the show who have all mentioned The Maltese Falcon, and ones who think that The Big Sleep is their favourite film noir, which I think is a bit perverse, actually, because I always think it's got a lot more screwball than film noir in it, although I do think screwball is an important part of film noir. But that's a whole different podcast, so we're not going to talk about that. Yeah. Today, I managed to corner you guys and said to you, come on, let's talk about film noir remakes. And although we're taking a fairly loose approach to what that means, because sometimes it's multiple adaptations of the same book, it's not necessarily the same screenplay that's being remade. So it's a bit like, oh, so that version of Hamlet is a remake of the one made 75 years ago with all the 175 versions in between. No, but nonetheless, these are books that don't get filmed that often, and therefore I think there's usually an awareness of what came before. And I asked you both to give me your top 5. So I am going to ask you both to talk about your top 5. I'm going to alternate, and we're going to do it from bottom to top, which is less uncomfortable than it sounds. And we are going to flip a fake Maltese Falcon to find out who goes first. So Matt, you can be head, and Luke, you can be tails. And I'm flipping it now, and it's head. Who did I say was head? I think it's you, Matt.
Me.
So, Matt, what's brilliant is you both sent me the list without apparently checking with each other. And I'm just going to tell you up front, because I hate suspense in this sense, you did not overlap in anything. So this is going to be a wide open conversation. Not at all. Isn't that brilliant? So I thought I'd break that in case you were wondering. You can be free to say anything because it's not going to come up again. So, Matt, your number 5 on the list is Cape Fear from 1991, directed by Martin Scorsese and starring, of course, Robert De Niro. So, okay, why did you pick Cape Fear? Tell us everything.
Well, this is also quite perverse because this is a film that I don't really like.
Excellent. This is going to go brilliantly.
It's a film so we've got off to a great start, but it's a film I sort of love to hate, if you know what I mean. Because I think it's like, I'm assuming that everyone listening will have seen, firstly, it, and also the original with Robert Mitchum and Gregory Peck. And to me, this is Cape Fear for the sort of MTV generation. It's also overblown. It's also in your face. It's also heavy-handed compared to the original. That I just think it's a wasted opportunity, and I think it's across the board. You know, if we just think about Max Cady for a minute, Mitchum compared to De Niro is so over the top. He's like a pantomime villain in it for me, whereas Mitchum is silent, brooding menace. And Mitchum's dangerous side, Mitchum's violence, his abuse, his perversion, all comes out sort of much slower. Whereas the minute you see Robert De Niro, he's walking out of prison with a bombastic score raging over him with these rolling thunderclouds of menace.
In fairness, it's the same score.
Yeah, well, used differently, and this rolling clouds of like impending thunder, whereas Mitchum's walking up a flight of stairs at City Hall or whatever it is, and just sort of knocks over a pile of magazines that someone's just straightened. And there's just that sense of brooding menace, and I just think it's done much better in the 62. Gregory Peck is like a heroic dad, and Nick Nolte is Nick Nolte, you know. So you've sort of got Nick Nolte up against Robert De Niro, and there's no sense of either one of them being in a weaker position than the other. Whereas Gregory Peck, I think, is always subordinate to Mitchum. You know, and I just think the original is subtler. I think it's more menacing. I think it's much more brooding, and I think it's much more terrifying for me. You know, the assault on the girl. We see the aftermath in the Mitchum, and we see it happen in the De Niro.
This is Barry Chase in the original and Ileana Douglas in the remake.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I just think, whilst I'm not for a minute saying it isn't shocking in the De Niro one, but what you don't see is always more terrifying than what you do. In my book, and that's what you get in the Mitchum one. You get the threat of it, and you get the aftermath. And I just think the original is better. But the 1990, is it 91?
Yeah,
92?
91.
So the De Niro version is a lot of fun. If it's on, I'll watch it, but it's not a patch on the original, and I find it irritating but fun. Because I think it's a waste. I think it's a waste of talent. I think that's really what gets me about it.
Do you ever see the spoof of it on The Simpsons?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Which is very funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, I do think that there are interesting elements. I can see what you mean, because one of the things about seeing it is that, curious to know what Luke thinks, is that you get this updating of the characterizations. So the daughter has a much more interesting role, if you like.
She's the best thing in it for me, Julia. Best thing in it.
And I think her scenes with De Niro tended to be the ones that were picked out and shown in clips and things, because they do stand out in that way. I suppose also we get a less successful nuclear family in terms of its depiction. The situation between the Nolte and Jessica Lange compared with Gregory Peck and Polly Bergen is sort of, they're a bit less simpatico, shall we say. They're a bit less on the same track, right? This is a film that also, I think, sends out slightly mixed messages. Originally, Spielberg developed it for himself and then changed his mind, apparently. So that sense of grandeur and inflation probably belongs a little bit more to him. I think he gets a producer credit in the end, but originally it was going to be him. I mean, what do you think about it, Luke?
I can give you very little, because I probably saw this at some point in the 90s, but I have no memory of this. I have no memory. I'm like that scene in X-Men 2 when he's like, he'll have no memory.
Wow, Cape Fear amnesia. Okay, It rocked your world so much that you've completely forgotten about it. Well, okay. Can we all agree that the music score by Bernard Herrmann is utterly fantastic? It's one of those themes, right? It's right up there almost with the Psycho theme. The minute you hear it, I mean, whether it's a parody or a real thing, the minute you hear it, you know, it's this kind of four-note motif, and right away you go, ooh.
Yeah, exactly. Except that I just think it works better in the black and white version, you know, because it does sound like a parody score when it's in the 90s version to me, whereas it, you know, and that's because of the visuals that go alongside it, really.
I do like the opening title sequence, which I know sounds like you're giving it a very, very kind of backhanded compliment, but they're designed by Saul Bass, working with his then wife, and they do look beautiful. And you do have a very nice arrangement of the opening title theme, which was done by Elmer Bernstein, who was working with Scorsese at the time. And I think it's a nice arrangement because it incorporates little bits from Herrmann's First Symphony. It's got a little bit of his unused score from Torn Curtain, even. So there's all kinds of fun elements in there. So if you're a fan of Herrmann, as we all should be, it's a great listen from that point of view. But yeah, that's kind of damning with faint praise. Okay, so it's got lovely camera work by Freddie Francis.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a film that I think is a total waste of time, and it's not one that I think is a total flop. It's just, I find it all too over the top to be taken fully seriously, whereas the original still sends shivers down my spine.
It's one of the few films of Scorsese's, once he made, after he made Taxi Driver, if you will, that feels like a commercial project. I mean, the only other one for me that's really like that is The Departed, which is the one that I pick of his remakes that I really think is vastly overrated. I'm kind of in a minority position on that, but I'm kind of used to it. But I much prefer Infernal Affairs, and I just find it overdone and overblown, and it overemphasizes the villain.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Cape Fear.
So I know where you're coming from. Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. So our fifth and absolutely least favorite on there. So over to you, Luke. And your fifth one is, in fact, and rather neat this, the 1941 version of The Maltese Falcon.
Yes.
Yeah.
What made you pick that, Luke?
What made me pick this? Well, I was speaking to Matt a while ago when you asked us to do this, and I was like, well, because we didn't share what our picks were, but I was like, man, when it comes to noir remakes, there's not a lot of good ones. It's there are some, there's some, but there's not a lot. There's not a lot, and so I went in thinking, okay, what are remakes that I think are ones that I like, that I'm like, this is unlike Matt with Cape Fear. I thought I'll find the ones that I like, and the Maltese Falcon is 1941. The Bogart version is one that I think is a strong second attempt at the Maltese Falcon.
Third.
Oh, third. No, yes, that's right. Third attempt. That's right. So therefore, I chose this one because I think overall it's an interesting one to sort of compare the two, because I think all of the strengths of the Bogart version are a lot of the weaknesses in the 1931 version. And I would say stylistically, visually, John Huston, it's a much better looking film, and there's a lot more of fun film noir style going on than you get in the 1931. And you have much better performances across the board in 1941. But there are weak points for me. And some of those weak points, for example, are in the 1941 version. I think that Heffy, Iva, and Bridget are all they just don't quite work for me. However, I think they all work fantastically in the 1931 version. And I wish I could sort of take those three actors and put them into this film, because then I think this would be a virtually perfect adaptation. But then, like I said, on that other side, the 1931 version, Gutman and all the names are going out of my head.
Cairo.
But Gutman and his crew, they all kind of suck. I don't think Cortez is very good. Cortez is interesting because maybe he was fine. Maybe he could have been fine as Sam Spade, but his sort of smarmy, grinny, smug face the whole time, constantly making jokes. I mean, that final scene between him and Bridget at the end, where she's in jail and he comes walking out and he tells the woman in the jail to say, oh, give her whatever she wants, candy, ice cream, whatever, good food. And then she's like, who's going to pay for it? He's like, well, the DA's office. And you're just like, wow, you just undercut your only emotional beat in this effing movie.
But surely that's the point, Luke, isn't it? I mean, because I love that last scene between them. I think because it's not in the book, it's it's a creation of the film, and it's brilliant. But isn't it all about his mask? It's kind of like the kind of lounge lizard mask, slipping and coming back. And so by the end, he's walking out and he's just put it back on again. But you saw that it really touches him, her plight. He does care for her after all. And she's BB Daniels. Who wouldn't love her?
Oh my gosh, she's stunning. She's perfect as that role. That is when I think that she is perfect for that.
Sarah.
Yes, Sam.
I want you to be very nice to that girl on number 10. Give her anything she wants. Good food, cigarettes, and candy. You know what I mean.
Very well, Sam, just as you say. But who'll I charge it to?
Send the bill to the district attorney's office. I'll okay it.
But would that be all right?
Yes, sir.
I get it. I get it that it's his mask, but it's not good acting is my problem. I don't think the whole time he's doing his little comic shtick, I'm just sort of like, oh, I cringe. I'm like, oh, this isn't working. Stop it. Whereas, the Bogart version, he's just so cool, and everyone is cool, and everyone is menacing, and I buy into that one more. It's just that I find the lady performances in Bogarts to be the weakest aspect, but I think they're the strongest aspects of the 1931 version. But yeah, but they both have tons of merit, I think. But
I think it's also, yeah, it's like you're saying. I mean, it's styles in filmmaking as well, isn't it? I think that this is a pre-code film, super fast,
it's so sexy in places.
Yeah, but also, the dialogue is so quick.
Yeah.
And in a way, you don't have a chance for a break. I mean, it's a much shorter film, the 1931 version. And, they still have to get through all the same plot. But in the remake, or the 1941 remake, there is this Satan meta lady exactly halfway between the two. So
yes.
they filmed it in 1931, then 1936 and 1941. And the 1936 is this kind of screwball attempt that's very easy to forget. So I'm not remotely surprised you briefly forgot it, because it's not good. It's fun in its own stupid way, but Betty Davis, who is such a fantastic actor, she's not very good in it at all. She said it was her worst film ever. Not true, but nonetheless, I think that maybe it was the worst film she made up to that point in her career. But she made some terrible dogs at the end. But it seems to me that she's just miscast. Cortez, is playing this kind of version of it where he's seedier, of course. You could argue he's more plausible, actually. It's not necessarily the character from the book either, though. It's just this transition, isn't it, in terms of how you represent a private investigator in a film. Because before that, they tended to be these minor, rather unpleasant characters. Whereas by the time we've reached the 1941 era, shall we say, they're much more likely to be slightly heroic or tarnished heroes. But no, I take your point. And obviously the remake has lots of virtues. But you're not keen on Mary Astor. You don't think she's very good at it, yeah?
She is a good actor, and she does a good performance in places. But there's just something about Bridget O'Shaughnessy that just she's not that character. When I read the book and when I envision her in my head, it is not Mary Astor. But if you 1931 I can't remember her surname now. BB Daniels, she is that. Yes, I will commit crimes for you, sweetheart.
She of course became a big British star because she married Ben Lyons, and and they became huge radio and TV stars here in the 40s and 50s. So there you go. Excellent choice, and I'm so glad it's on there. So back to you, Matt. So you've picked quite an interesting one, and I'm quite pleased. Do you remember what your choice was, or shall I tell you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Go on. Tell us what your fourth choice is.
My fourth choice is Narrow Margin. Gene Hackman and Archer, which is a remake of a film called The Narrow Margin. It's an RKO film from 1952,
I think.
One
or two. Yeah.
And the reason I picked this is because, like another one that's going to be on my list, this is just for me an example of one of those 90s thrillers that was total popcorn fuel and so ridiculous. But for the hour and a half or whatever it is that it's on, I'm wrapped up in it. And the same applies. It's a long time since I've seen The Narrow Margin, the original. But I remember the same idea, going through my mind, that this is just pure nonsense, but I'm having a really good time and I'm really enjoying it, And they're set on train. It's essentially a chase film. It's a cliched plot. It's a cop protecting a witness from the mob, seen that dozens of times. And then they're menaced on a train. And I've always quite enjoyed train mysteries, where you really can't, there's nowhere to go. So things like the 39 Steps, the chase on the 39 Steps, I think is great. And the Rathbone Holmes film Terror by Night, which is pretty dreadful, but it's great fun. You know,
I actually really like it. I've always liked that one, actually.
Well, it's great fun, but I mean, it's not going to win any Oscars, is it? But it's sort of it's the claustrophobia of a train that I find fascinating. You know? And I just thought this is I don't think it's a remake in the sense of it's anywhere near shot for shot. I think quite a lot of it changes, but it has the same heart, and that heart is in the same place, and that is just to tell a pretty ludicrous plot, but in the most entertaining manner possible. And of course, I'm a massive Hackman fan, and Hackman is always worth a watch.
No, he's great in it. I mean, I'm a big fan of Peter Hyams, who adapted it and directed it. And, you know, he did things, Capricorn 1, Outland.
Capricorn 1, yeah.
Of course, Outland is sort of technically a remake of High Noon, with Sean Connery.
And he did one called Beyond Reasonable Doubt, which I think is another remake. Which,
Michael
again,
Douglas.
I think, is that Michael Douglas?
Yeah.
And that's another very interesting updating rather than remake of the original. And I just think they're really entertaining, you know, and Narrow Margin especially is really, really entertaining. It's one of those, you had a tough day in the office, you go home, you get a snack out and open a beer and you put Narrow Margin on and you'll have an hour and a half of good fun, and then afterwards you'll forget what it was about. And sometimes movies should be that, I think. There's a place for movies like that.
In my memory, I think I saw it at the Prince Charles before it became a rep. Oh. So if in 1990 it was, unless I'm completely misremembering, but I'm pretty sure I went to see it at the time. I love the fact that, you know, the kind of inflationary pressures on remakes. So, of course, in the original, which was directed by Richard Fleischer, you know, just when his career was starting to take off, really.
Yeah.
And it's all in the train and it's basically all on sets and whatever. But, of course, it being the 90s, they have to get on top of the train, you know, and there are
exactly.
There are some great shots because they actually clearly shot it in a way that it's not processed. You know, they're there on some kind of moving structure that looks like a train. Hopefully it isn't.
You know we're going to find her. It's just a matter of time. Do you really think you can get her off this train?
Get who? These guys are professionals, and if they see you, they're going to kill you.
Grab the handrail. Get on the roof.
Gene Hackman. I have to make my move before they make theirs. Ann Archer.
I'm scared stiff.
Sometimes the difference between life and death is a narrow margin.
What do you think about it, Luke? Have you seen that one?
Again, this is one that I've not seen, but I did look it up, and I did laugh at Roger Ebert's review.
Yeah, Roger Ebert's not a fan.
Where he called it the idiot plot.
Yeah, well, it is. So an example of that is, at one point, in order to get into a compartment on their own, Gene Hackman gets Ann Archer to put her hands in the pocket of a cardigan and push it out and pretend she's pregnant, so that they can get this old couple out of this compartment so that she can have the seat. You know? And nobody says, well, if you're that heavily pregnant, why are you on a train and not in hospital? For example, you know, and none of the characters in this film make any sensible, believable, realistic decisions. It is all to fuel the plot. I don't think you can say any of these people are real. These characters are real people, but you know, Hackman, he sells it nevertheless. Even though what he's saying and doing is absolute tripe, he sells it like a champion. But it is the idiot plot. It's definitely
although, hey, listen, when was the last time you saw a movie, a Hollywood movie with a pregnant lady in it where it didn't look like she was about to give birth to a football? I mean, come on. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
But okay.
True. I did just see Fantastic Four.
I know nothing, so I am looking forward to it. Am I allowed to look forward to it? You quite liked it, right?
I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Okay, Luke.
I don't want to spoil it for people, so I don't want to say anything more. But
now it's your turn. Do you remember what your fourth favorite one was? I'm going to remind you otherwise.
I believe it's A Talented Mr. Ripley.
It is indeed. Tell us more.
Here we go. I've always been a fan of this version. I think this has such a good cast. I think Matt Damon in this early 90s period was just perfectly cast in a couple of roles, and Ripley is one, and then Jason Bourne is another, and they can't be farther apart in terms of like how they operate. But I don't know. There's just something about this version. I think just the way it opens up with Damon, and you sort of, he's doing some light cons, and you don't really think too poorly of him. You don't think he's going to be a nasty guy, and you kind of, he's poor and stuff, and you kind of understand why he's doing some stuff. And then as the film progresses and he just becomes obsessed with Dickie, and then assumes his identity, tries to live this false life, and exploring his obsession, but also the sort of, this time around, kind of a more explicit exploration of the kind of the homosexual aspects of his obsession with Dickie as well. I don't know. It's to me, this one is just so nicely vile, and you it's without the visual cue of, some films, they'll start bright, and as they go, they get darker and darker, and it's meant to be the descent into darkness. This film maintains a beautiful look the whole time, and you're wrapped up in that, but everything begins just to feel grimy and sleazy and desperate. And I mean, the ending is when he's on the boat and he kills the guy. You're just like, oh my god. It's just, how far will this, is this guy going to go, and is he going to get caught? And it's a fantastic remake. I don't have anything super negative to say about the previous version, Purple Noon. It's not one that lives, rent free in my mind. From what I remember, I don't remember it being a bad film, but this version is the Damon version is the one that just really sticks with me. And then you compare it to the freaking awful version that Netflix did, that was just wrong on all accounts, all casting, everything was bad except for the cinematography. Everything else was just like, what are you doing? Have you ever read the Highsmith novel? Do you know, what are you doing?
Don't hold back, Luke. What do you really mean?
Yes. There's a reason we didn't cover it on Mean Streets. I had absolutely nothing good to say about that. I mean, when he gets hit over the head in the water, he would have died. He would have died, and then he becomes a superhero. Like, what is going on here? Anyway. Matt Damon's version, I find that one so good. Because he is. This is why I like Damon in certain roles like this. He's just not someone that you expect to do the things that he's about to do. When he's obsessing over Dickie and he's putting on his clothes and all that kind of stuff, and then Dickie catches him. He's just, at one point you're just sort of thinking like, man, Dickie, why are you not just telling this guy, like properly getting this guy out of your life? He just sort of manages to just keep his claws in there. I've always loved this version. There's very little I don't really have anything negative to say about it. I've always been a big fan of this one.
This is a secret. It's a secret between us.
I know it was you. I know it's you.
Whenever Dickie does something, I feel guilty.
I know about you.
Well, you get the reward. I always thought it would be better to be a fake somebody than a real nobody.
I don't believe a single word you said.
You're shivering, Marge. Can I hold you? Well, whatever you do, however terrible, however hurtful, nobody thinks that they're a bad person.
Well, what do you think about it, Matt?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really good. I think the casting is great in this, and I think it's the best casting of all the versions. I think the ages are right. I think that they're how I imagined them from the novel. And I went to the cinema to see it and was captivated by it then. I didn't really know who any of the people in it were, really. So to me, they were those characters, and if you don't know an actor, you go with no baggage. So they become the person that you're seeing rather than the bloke who you've just seen in somewhere else, And I agree with Luke about the Netflix series. I didn't like that either. I thought this film was much... I do like the Alan Delon version from the 60s. I think that is excellent. But it's quite a different film. Ripley's one of those examples of the same source material producing two very different adaptations, very different feel, but all from the same source material. But the Damon version, I think, is a really good one. I back that choice 100%, definitely.
I also got to praise Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah. He's fantastic in it.
I love him in.
He's even good when he gets his head beaten in. But,
Yes.
Yeah.
The poor sucker. I will say, for me, the big difference is probably Delon, because in my head, Delon is sort of a bit perfect for it. I think somehow, in terms of just his style and his look and the kind of charisma. But what's interesting about the remake to me, I remember being impressed by the fact that although you wouldn't automatically imagine that you could get Matt Damon and Jude Law necessarily mixed up, but in actual fact, they do quite a good job of the way that he starts to kind of absorb him in terms of his look and his clothes. And so that works very well, so that by the time he's sort of taken, killed him and taken over his life, you actually sort of semi-believe it. And that's very hard to do. So I think you give a huge amount of credit for that, because I think that with actors who don't truly look alike, it's very hard, and that's sort of acting and all sorts of things, and I think that they're doing it very well. I have not seen the Netflix version, so I'm not allowed to comment either way. So there you go. I mean, I like the guy who made it. I think he's an impressive filmmaker and a writer especially. But okay, so that didn't work out quite the way we expected. So Matt, let's go over to you and let's talk about something that had been filmed several times, and you've gone for the steamiest version. So in 1981, did you go and see The Postman Always Rings Twice?
Did I go and see it in 1981?
Yeah.
No, because in 1981 I was 7. So
okay, that would have been weird. That would have been very
I think
weird.
if my mum had taken me to see The Postman Always Rings,
I realise I'm the oldest man in the room, which
when I was
I was roughly old enough to be allowed in Italy. Yeah,
right. She did take me to see Adam and the Ants at the Apollo in Manchester when I was about the same age. But that's
same
that's
thing, right? Yeah,
near the knuckle as we go. But what I do remember, I've said this on Mean Streets loads of times. My family used to have sort of Friday and Saturday cinema nights, where we would hire a video from the petrol station in those days.
Yeah,
and we'd sit down as a family to watch it. Some suitable choices, some quite unsuitable choices for someone who was at the age of sort of 7 to 10 during this period. And this was one of them. But I don't pretend that at whatever age it was, I understood it particularly. But certain bits of it did stick in my mind. Not those bits. not the kitchen table bits. When I came to watch it as an adult, I love this version of this book. I think this is really good. I like the original. The John Garfield version.
Yes, which is not the first.
No, not the first. No. But what this does is take the essence of that and do more with it in terms of making it steamier, making it darker. And one of the things that perhaps we should have said when we were defining what film noir is the sleaziness of it. And that's what you get in this. This film is sleazy. And I don't come away from the Garfield one feeling I need a shower.
Well,
and I mean, obviously in 1981 you can get away with a lot more, but even so, I think Jessica Lange in the Lana Turner role really does sell being a downtrodden wife who has made a bad decision and now can't get out of it and is taken for granted. And let's face it, for a beautiful woman like Jessica Lange, she looks a state in this, whereas Lana Turner always looks $1 million,
Yes, incredibly implausibly, yes.
And incredibly implausibly, given the job that she's doing. She's, endlessly cooking in this greasy spoon highway diner. And of all people that I can believe would distract her from the humdrum of her life, it's Jack Nicholson. And they just sizzle in this. The energy between them crackles. And this is perhaps the first on my list of remakes that I think really does pack a serious punch of improvement.
Two people in love.
It was just us. It was just you and me.
What are you talking about?
I'm tired of what's right and wrong.
You hang people for that, Cora. Don't look back. Don't look back. It's a cop.
Oh, God.
In love. And out of control.
Who are you calling?
the ending is different, but I don't think it's any less tragic, and I don't think it's any less chaotic, as we were saying earlier about what Noir is. This is just a pure bit of bad luck that brings this couple's story to an end. And it's a roller coaster of, it's a very emotional film, you know, beneath all the plotting to kill and the kitchen sleaze. It's a very emotional film. I think it's a knockout.
I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with just the people who are making it as well. Terrific score by Michael Small. It's shot by Sven Nykvist. You know, so it's sort of in between shooting Ingmar Bergman and Woody Allen films. You know, the very serious cinematographer. And this might seem like a weird thing to say. I always think it has maybe one sex scene too many. You get that sense that they knew that they were going to be pushing the envelope a little bit, and they felt they had to. It was kind of the raison d'etre, if you like, of the film, which is a shame. But I agree with you. Sense. Yeah, but I think it's very powerful stuff, and I think that does the book justice. I think it does the book justice. Of the Kane books, it's the one that survives the best, I think. It has my word for it is earthy. That's what I'm going with. How about you, Luke? What did you think of it?
Again, I should have known what we picked in advance, so I could have gone back, because it's been a very, very, very long time. Again, this is what I would have seen it years ago, but again, this is not one I've probably watched in since I was a teenager, which was a very, very long time ago.
Well, I will admit, it's not like, I mean, I've got it on Blu-ray, but it's not a film that I sort of dig out on a regular basis.
No.
Like you say, it's just too sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fundamentally.
In context, a friend of mine always says that he has to build himself up, and I've started to say it myself, you have to build yourself up for a week to watch The Elephant Man.
Oh, because it's God, yeah.
And I have a similar, not quite as emotional a reaction to this film as that, but it's not one that you think, well, there's nothing on TV tonight, let's stick The Postman Always Rings Twice on. That'll be unlike Narrow Margin, this is quite a tough 2 hours to get through, you know.
Yeah.
It's an emotional film, and it's a dirty film, but I think it's a powerful film, you know. But it, like you say, Sergio, it is one that you have to sort of be in the mood for.
Okay, well, no, it's a great choice though. So over to you, Luke. We're sort of now at the halfway mark of our top 5, and we had a little discussion about your choice for this one due to some access issues. So what's the movie?
Yes, I went with The Killers, 1964, the Hemingway adaptation. Very loose Hemingway adaptation here. I think both versions are great. I'll say that from the outset. I like the 1946 version. I like the 1964 version, which, I swear, for someone with dyslexia, my God.
Those two numbers getting inverted is very irritating, right?
Yes, it is. But yeah, I think both versions are absolutely great. I love, just quickly, the original, the 46 version. It's so, that one sticks so closely for a while to the short story before it, it moves on. So it's fun to have a sort of somewhat faithful recreation of the Hemingway story. But then I love the fact that the 64 version just essentially takes the concept and then just does something totally unique with it. And sometimes, I mean, that's a risky thing. Sometimes that will blow up in someone's face, and other times it has fantastic results. And I think this is a fantastic result. Again, this is one where I think casting across the board is stellar. Lee Marvin just steals the show in this, but also Angie Dickinson as Sheila Farr is fantastic. And, Ronald Reagan being a gangster, a mob guy. Yeah. That's exactly what he is or was. It's just a shame he didn't get that ending. What? Were we allowed to say that on a podcast? I don't know. Trump might come after you.
I think we are now.
No, there's so much to love about this, and it was fun to rewatch it for this, because you kind of get swept up in how cool everything is. It is that it sort of evokes all of the cool suave of kind of From Russia with Love, but it is also playing with that the neo-noir aspects. It's got that dark grittiness, but with the sort of Bond-esque flair attached to it that that I love. The style of it, the way people are dressed, the way the dudes always wearing their shades. It's fast cars, it's beautiful women, it's lots of you're going after a lot of money. And Sheila Farr, my God, what a femme fatale. Again, I will do crimes for you, lady. Like she's someone I absolutely believed in, and there's a really fun line in the story where I can't remember which character says it, but basically says, oh, she's been with a lot of different men. She's been with this guy in this place, this guy in this place, this guy in Mexico who's a bullfighter, and it hit me when the character said that. It's the friend of the car driver, who says this.
Oh, Claude Akins. Is it
yes.
Claude Akins? Yeah.
I think so. But when he says that, I was like, oh my God, she is the closest we're probably going to get to Lady Brett Ashley on the big screen until if they ever do The Sun Also Rises, which is a very early Hemingway novel. His first novel?
It is his first novel.
It is his first novel.
It has been filmed. It has been filmed. They filmed it in the 50s.
Yeah, that didn't count though.
Hey, it had Errol Flynn in it. Come on.
Yeah. All right, fine. She struck me as just really what that character is. The way she looks, the way she manipulates the bullfighter comment, that has to be a reference to the novel. I don't remember if that's in the short story. I don't remember if that is.
It's not in there. I mean, one of the things about the story is, of course, is that when Hemingway wrote it, he considered calling it The Matadors. And changed his mind, right? And so it became The Killers. And this movie, of course, was originally going to be a TV film called Johnny North.
Yeah.
Well, it got rejected as a TV movie, didn't it? It was considered too violent.
Yes.
By the way, just quickly, just because you rewatched it, did you happen to recognize the music during the opening title sequence? This is a real film buffy question.
I didn't.
Although John Williams, or Johnny Williams as he then was, gets the credit for the music, he only wrote a small amount of music. It's mostly library music. That bit of music that you hear over the titles is actually taken from Henry Mancini's score for Touch of Evil.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah. Is it really?
Yeah, it's from the score, not from the title sequence, but it's from the score. And in fact, if you listen to it and think about it, and you know it, you're thinking, oh, well, yeah, of course it is.
But I also love the framing device. It's nice that they're not just redoing what they did in 46. This framing device of two assassins, the going into the blind school and killing someone. What an opening. What a freaking great opening. I just love everything about that. It's so unexpected. It's quite shocking and hard pressed to find an opening that is, as cool as that. It's up there within, if there's ever like a top 100 openings, like that's got to be in the top 100. Like, come on. It's just so cool. But yeah, this idea that these two assassins are trying to make sense of why was this kill so easy, and then they become the investigators in this narrative, and then work through flashback, learning about their target and all, and then all the stuff that's kind of led up to that point. And then the ending, when Lee, his partner Lee, is shot, and then Marvin's character Charlie, he's like, I'm going after this guy. And that final confrontation in the house, this Brady Bunch looking house, is great. And when she's because obviously Charlie's bleeding out as well. He's on the verge of death, but he doesn't care. His mission is I'm going to kill all these people, and it's wonderful. And in his death scene, it's that walk out of the house and the stumbling, and it's wonderful. I think this film is a terrific mob heist neo-noir. It's got all the bits that you want. It's got your femme fatales done well. It's got your kind of everything is jaded, everything is corrupted, everything is nasty. It's just this is a chef's kiss of a film, I think.
Yeah, certainly looks forward to Point Blank. I think, with Marvin, I think, in terms of his characterization. Well, what do you think about it, Matt?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's Marvin's show for me, as it often is. And I also agree about Angie Dickinson, as indeed would my dear departed dad, who was a big fan of Angie Dickinson from when she was in Policewoman.
Oh, yeah.
Believe it or not, my first introduction to Angie Dickinson was Dressed to Kill. Brian De Palma's Dressed to Kill.
Okay, so she wasn't in it that much, but yeah.
I've seen rather more of Angie Dickinson than I perhaps should.
Mostly a body double, let's be clear.
Oh, right. Right, fair enough. But also John Cassavetes. I mean, he's always watchable, and he's one of the great filmmakers. And I agree. I think as a remakes go, this is a really good one.
And of course, it's interesting because it's written by Gene L. Kuhn, who is known to most of us as the talented writer-producer on Star Trek, the original series, as opposed to somebody else with a similar sounding name. So, okay, so we're now going to go over to Matt and I actually watched this for the first time today. So it's all your fault because I never got round to watching it. What's our second choice?
My second choice is Nightmare Alley, that was released the remake was 2021, Guillermo del Toro's version with Bradley Cooper and Cate Blanchett. And I think this does what remakes should do for me. In the same way that Postman always rings twice, it's faithful to the original, but it adds some spice of its own, which you would expect from Del Toro. I'm a big fan of the original with Tyrone Power. I think that's a powerhouse performance from Tyrone Power in that, who was much more than a pretty face. In my book, he gave some really good performances, Tyrone Power, and he was too often dismissed as just a handsome chap. This is a noir nightmare for me. It's called Nightmare Alley for a reason, and it's just about one man's descent into nothing, really, until he becomes the lowest of the low. He becomes the very thing that he started out ridiculing and laughing at. It's heartbreaking, but he brings it on himself in many ways. He's very much an anti-hero, is Bradley Cooper in this. Bradley Cooper's character in this, Stanton. And he's duped, as all noir heroes should be. He's duped by a beautiful woman, and that leads to his downfall. This is not a detective story by any means. It's a crime thriller, I think, but it's also got a glimpse of horror behind its crime facade.
What is your name?
Stanton Carlisle.
Are you a true medium?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Carlisle.
Doctor, how about that?
Please lay down.
Can you read minds?
Yes, I can. Under the right circumstances.
Keep your answers brief.
What do I want?
To be found out, same as everybody else.
Actually, one of the interesting things about the original version, which of course is here as well, is that, like you're saying, he gets duped. And it's weird, in the 40s version, she gets away with it as well.
Yeah,
I've never understood how she got away with it. The censorship strictures shouldn't have allowed for that.
They shouldn't have allowed it. No, I mean, how it went under the radar, I don't know, because it's not exactly subtle.
And this is Cate Blanchett in the remake, isn't it?
It's Cate Blanchett in the remake, yeah. I'm sort of fascinated with sideshows and circus freaks and things like that. So that comes with one of the family cinema nights when she did get the Elephant Man out, thinking it was going to be a... Anyway, so I'm sort of become fascinated with those over the years. This is, like I say, a noir nightmare with a sideshow as its backdrop, rather than some mean streets of a town, or city. And I think Cooper was a good fit for the Tyrone Power role. I think he does a fairly good job of it. But for me, it is Tyrone Power that I would go back to and watch again more than I would the Cooper version. But as remakes go, I think this is a really solid one, and it has a lot to be admired. It looks fantastic. The photography on it is absolutely beautiful. It does what all remakes should do. It fulfills in its own right, but it also makes you want to go back and watch the original, which when I watched it for the first time, I did. I went straight back and watched the original. No,
the original's really good. And I think that boyish look of Powers does maybe give it the slight edge, I think. Cooper's a little bit older, I think, than Power was at the time he made it, maybe. And I think looks a little older. And there's a 2-year period within the main bulk of it, and then you've got the epilogue. And you're not sure how much time has passed.
has passed.
But it's intriguing from that point of view. But it's a small thing. It's a very impressive film. Of course, it is an unbelievably depressing story anyway.
It's totally bleak.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to get yourself ready for that one. I'm not watching that just because I feel like watching a nice carnival film.
And like we've said on Mean Streets many times, there are no real heroes in this. Nobody is particularly likable in this. And yet, certainly in the original, I do feel sorry for Tyrone Power at the end, despite the fact that he's the author of his own misfortune.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, of course, the leading lady exits the narrative in this one, never to be seen again. But in the book, that is part of what leads to his final downfall, is sort of reading about her and the fact that she's got married and the realization that he really did love her, which you could argue is very conventional. But we don't get that. So I think the feeling was we don't need that sort of thing anymore. Now, Luke, you've seen this one, haven't you?
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
I haven't seen this one.
No! Damn.
Have you seen the original?
Nope. Both of these have escaped me.
Oh, damn. We've completely shut you out. That's just mean, man.
It's okay.
It's definitely worth seeing.
It's on the list. It's literally saved on my Disney, because it's on Disney Plus. It's saved in my watch list to do at some point, because I figured we would probably do it on the podcast at some point. But this is one I remember it coming out, but this came out, I guess, at complicated time, COVID-y time, moving time. We were moving from London to where we are now, and blah 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 blah. So this one completely sort of passed me by.
No, I mean, I've only caught up with it today,
and it was a flop. I mean, it did bad business. But
everything was a flop between 2020 and this year.
Yeah, I don't suppose people weren't wearing capes and flying around cities. So
all of those flopped at that period, at that time as well. Cinema didn't really come back, quote unquote, until Barbieheimer.
So let's bring Luke back to a film that we've definitely all seen and we all think is fantastic. Tell us about your number two.
Number two is 2006's Casino Royale.
Yay!
Yes.
James Bond, bringing some spy fiction back to into the game. I'm waiting for it's a spy movie. It's not film. It's not in the war. It's not in the war. There's always someone.
Not here.
Go on.
I love this film. This is the first Bond film that I think the first Bond film that I saw in cinema. For some reason, parents never took me to go see the Brosnan ones as they were coming out. That was always a see them at home sort of situation. It just grabbed me from the beginning. I like the attempt to sort of reground Bond. That lasted for one film and one film only. But it was nice while it lasted. This introduced a very different Bond to what we had seen previously in the other incarnations on screen, and I thought that was really refreshing, because I love Brosnan, I love Dalton, I love Connery. I do not like Moore. You can see a lot of inspiration in the way that you look at like Doctor Who. You can always see inspiration from previous actors funneling into the current iteration, and I don't think there was anything of anyone in Craig's Bond, and I appreciated that, and I really responded to that. I also think it has one of the best femme fatales in the whole Bond franchise, maybe.
Now, having just met you, I wouldn't go as far as calling you a cold-hearted bastard.
No, of course not.
But it wouldn't be a stretch to imagine you think of women as disposable pleasures rather than meaningful pursuits. So as charming as you are, Mr. Bond, I will be keeping my eye on our government's money and off your perfectly formed house.
You noticed?
Even accountants have imagination. How was your lamb?
Skewered. Old sympathizers.
Good evening, Mr. Bond.
Good evening, Miss Lind.
The only other person that I think gives Vesper a run for her money is, and hear me out, is Electric King. I really like Electric King and The World's Not Enough. I think that is maybe Brosnan's best. I really have a soft spot for World's Not Enough. Vesper is she's stunning and she's fantastic. and she's, you don't want her to be bad, and then when she's bad, you're like, oh God. And just that line at the end when Bond, the bitch is dead. That is just the rest of his kind of hardening heart just solidifying. And then and I love that, because he's not a total hard-hearted individual. I think throughout the movie, it's really that moment where I think you get this. Okay, he is now, as an origin James Bond. It's just done so well. I think Mads Mikkelsen, what a fantastic villain. His portrayal of Le Chiffre beats the other portrayal. Was Le Chiffre? Yeah, Le Chiffre in the he wasn't in the camp 1960 one.
Yeah, he's Orson Welles.
Yeah, it's Orson Welles.
Orson Welles. Oh, that's right. I've really tried to block that movie out of my mind. Funnily enough, I did watch that one about 3 months ago. So I should have remembered that Orson, yes, that was
big old Orson Welles.
I think I was making fun of it to you, Matt. I was saying,
you were,
you were. It was like, I'm only going to film this one scene. I'm not going to move. I'm going to sit in this chair,
right, yeah.
and you're going to get what you get from me sitting in this chair, and that's it. I remember. Yes, I remember that now. But he's also better than that very bad American TV movie that you sent me, Sergio.
It has its moments.
It does.
Peter Lorre is Le Chiffre.
Yes, he's actually pretty good.
It does have its moments. Johnny Bond.
Jimmy
Bond. That's it. Jimmy Bond. Duh. Casino Royale, just for me, it was a really solid attempt to modernize Bond, toughen up Bond, and for the first time, really try to adapt the novel version of the character versus what we had previously. And that's not to knock the stuff we had. I love a vast majority of the old Bond films, and I'm absolutely fine that they, in very little, in most ways, don't take much from the novel. But this just felt, for me, it's just fantastic from start to finish. Just sort of, it was firing on all cylinders for me, this one.
What do you think, Matt? I'm a big fan.
I'm a big fan of this film. This is Craig's best Bond film for me, and I will sort of die on that hill. I think he goes downhill pretty rapidly after this. Yeah. And for me, and I agree with Luke. It was good to see Bond pre-00 status, albeit only for the teaser. To see him as a not fully fledged. Bond is always fully fledged and skilled at everything, and to see him raw around the edges was a refreshing change. And like Luke says, it's a very good adaptation of the original novel. The bits that are concerned with the original novel, updating Baccarat or whatever it is for poker, that I can live with that. I'm not really too worried about that. But the actual game itself, the way that Mathis explains to us non-poker players what Bond has to do without it sounding like exposition, is exactly what Fleming does in the book. And that section when he arrives at Casino Royale to the recovery, the bit before Venice, that's as close to an adaptation of Fleming's first novel as I reckon we'll get, and I'm happy with it. The bits on either side of it, I think the Miami airport chase is superb. I think that is a great bit. All the build up to why they have to go to Casino Royale, I think is very good. Venice dips for me a bit. I think it outstays its welcome a little bit, but that's a minor niggle. And I love the fact they end it with that line, which is the last line of the novel as well. And Craig was a breath of fresh air. He really was.
Not entirely true, Matt. Last line of the movie is, "My name is Bond, James Bond."
Oh, well,
Come, you got a whole extra epilogue. You're pretending it didn't happen.
I told you it outstayed its welcome.
Okay, moving on. No, and also just to point out, of course, that one of the most noirish things about it is the prologue in black and white, shot with expressionistic lighting, and that's one of the great things. So I think a good choice.
People that say that film isn't neo-noir, and people that say that the early Fleming books certainly aren't noir, I'd take issue with any day.
Take it to the street. Take it to the street. Take them out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, as theme songs go, I love the theme for Casino Royale. If I were to rate, it would probably be within the top 10, maybe top 5.
I think the bong songs is always sort of a pain in the bum, really. Ultimately, I think we have all the time in the world, and then you've got everything else. And that's fine. As long as you agree about that, then no argument. Otherwise, well, Goldfinger, but
Yes.
but
Well,
it's the only one that survived as a song.
Yes.
Maybe Nobody Does It Better is the other one, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I guess you got some Live and Let Die.
Live and Let Die
Come on.
survived as a song.
Oh, I think the shall we say, the slightly Jamaican riff in the middle tends to get in the way of most people's enjoyment nowadays. A bit of a cultural appropriation we could have done without. And we didn't even know what that was in 1973. So
it dips. But no, Chris Cornell's "You Know My Name" is fantastic.
Sure.
And I love the fact that they carried on the style with the second movie. I like the Jack White and who else sings with that? Alicia Keys. I like the Jack White Alicia Keys song. A lot of people don't, but I like that they were retaining this style, and then it just goes to shit after that. I like Adele. I like Adele.
We don't want to go down the, Matt's not well. We need to move on.
Yes.
So we've now reached the top, the summit of the remakes. So over to you, Matt. Tell us what your absolute favorite remake is, and it's a great film. I think it's a great choice.
I think this is a great film, and again, it's a huge amount of fun. And what it does, I'll say what it is in a minute. But what it does is it takes the idea of the original and makes it relevant and appropriate for the time in which it was released. It takes the same idea and runs with it. And it's 1987's No Way Out, which is Kevin Costner, and for the second time on this list, Gene Hackman. And it's a remake of The Big Clock, which was a Ray Milland film from the 50s?
Late 40s.
Was it 40s?
Yeah.
And what I love about both these versions, I've not read the novel. I must rectify that.
Oh, you must read the book. Book's excellent.
Yeah, I must rectify that. But what I like about this is the setup, which essentially is the hero is tasked to find a powerful man's lover, and he's looking for himself, and he has to, as convincingly as possible, carry out his investigation whilst also thwarting it. And I think that is a brilliant idea. And what No Way Out does is transfer in The Big Clock. He's a journalist. I think it's a newspaper.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's a satire on basically kind of Newsweek, and it was the Time organization, which published all these different magazines.
That's right. Yeah, in 1987 they transferred it to the Pentagon, and it's all about naval intelligence and secretaries of defense and all that sort of stuff. And Kevin Costner is this naval intelligence commander, and he's tasked with finding this Russian spy, because what they're going to do is Gene Hackman's girlfriend, who is Sean Young, has been having an affair. And when Gene Hackman finds out, Gene Hackman is the Secretary of Defense. When he finds out, he kills her. So they have to cover it up. And they task Kevin Costner with finding who the girlfriend was having an affair with. And they plan to say it's this Russian spy called Yuri, who may or may not have existed. And all the time, Kevin Costner knows that he is the man they're looking for. And it is so tense. I mean, it's 1987, so it does, visually it has aged. But it is so tense and so exciting. And Costner is really good in it. I think you could say it was his breakout role, really. And the ending is a real good, satisfying twist, I think. And as remakes go, this is one that I could watch over and over and over again. The Big Clock I could watch over and over and over again. But I think this is does what remakes should do. It takes what was great about the original, does something with it that doesn't alter anything dramatically, but it can still stand on its own 2 feet.
If it were your intention to bring down David Bryce, then I'd have no choice but to make sure that you didn't get away with it.
They mean to kill me, Sam.
Because of the truth, there's no way out. Kevin Costner, Gene Hackman, Sean Young, Will Patton, No Way Out.
I think it holds up really nicely. It's one of those films that I think you can rewatch even knowing the big twist. There aren't too many films where you can say that about it. And I think that it also has this great kind of noirish feel, doesn't it? We start with a person being interrogated and then we flash back.
Yeah, it starts very much like Murder, My Sweet.
Yeah.
Just a couple of blokes in a room with a light shone on someone's face.
And I think, therefore, it kind of is linking to that past. So I think that's also one of the nice things about it, is that it's got nice chase scenes. It's got lots of really good actors, some of them in quite small roles. But George Zanza, Iman is in it. But the main...
really good, surprisingly good, I would say.
She's really good in it. But at the same time, I think that it never lets go of the plot. And it doesn't get stupid, which is really nice. So I think it really works. Tell you one funny thing. I remember watching the review that Barry Norman gave of it in what would have been, I guess, film 88. And he sort of said, of course, people who've seen the original will know the twist ending already. Which, of course, is, as we know, complete and utter bollocks.
That isn't true, yeah.
So he got confused there. Barry Norman did know his stuff.
Yeah, that just isn't true. I mean, there's an extra layer to it.
Yeah, which we mustn't spoil. Nobody must spoil that ending because it's just mean-spirited. It works really well. Now, Luke, what do you think about this film?
I have a vague memory of watching this a long time ago, and that is about as far as I can go. I wish I'd known in advance, because I would have done the research. I would have been more prepared. Oh,
this was the flaw in my clever premise for this podcast. Damn. No, okay. So look, not to put you in a bad spot, it's worth seeing again. It really is.
It is worth seeing again.
Even if you remember the ending, it's really worth seeing. And also, it's got this bizarre thing. It turns out they had to go to New Zealand to shoot the scenes with the boat. The scene when they're in a storm. Apparently, they couldn't get, they weren't going to build a boat. And the only place they could get one was in New Zealand. Now, the director's from New Zealand. So they kind of went out there and just shot that bit. Have you ever seen Midnight Run?
Yeah.
Turns out that scene when they go in the water with the helicopter chase and they throw in and, they had to shoot that in New Zealand because at the time that they were filming it, the waters were too cold. And so they had to fly to the other side of the world just to shoot that sequence. Can you just, and one loves New Zealand, but there you are. I'm just throwing some NZ trivia. So, Luke, what's your number one choice?
Yes, my number one choice is 1975's Farewell, My Lovely. Robert Mitchum as Philip Marlowe.
Great choice.
This film might be the one that sort of reignited my interest in film noir. I rewatched this around the time that I was doing my master's and I was writing a hard-boiled novel, and I wanted to sort of relive and re-experience as much of Chandler's work as I could. I am a huge fan of Murder My Sweet. I have nothing bad to say about that one, but I think this one is on par, equally as good for me. Unlike the Maltese Falcon, both versions I hold up quite high in regard. I think they're both great. I mean, I know obviously in the book Chandler's Marlowe isn't an old guy as he is, as Mitchum is here, but I sort of like it. I like this. It reminded me of what Nicholas Meyer would go on and do with Wrath of Khan, and really play into and explore sort of concepts of aging. And Marlowe at the very beginning of the movie is very aware of being old and being tired, and I even felt that his comments along those lines are maybe a bit meta as well. Are we tired of this genre? Are we tired of this going back? Are we tired of this nostalgia? Are we, so I enjoy, I like that aspect. And I like that kind of early commentary or kind of meta commentary that you could maybe pull out of this.
This past spring was the first that I felt tired and realized I was growing old. Maybe it was the rotten weather we'd had in L.A. Maybe it was the rotten cases I'd had, mostly chasing a few missing husbands and then chasing their wives once I found them in order to get paid. Or maybe it was just the plain fact that I am tired and growing old.
I think this version does stuff that the first one doesn't, in that we actually visit the African-American bar, which is not in the original. I think everyone is sort of pulling their weight along this whole film. It's also more so than the 1940s version, and this is maybe kind of a parallel between this and the Maltese Falcon iterations, is where the second Maltese or the third Maltese Falcon is darker and grittier. I would say Farewell My Lovely leans in much more to a grittier world, a sleazier world, a more violent world. And a lot of that is to do really with what they could get away with back then and what they could get away with in the 70s. This is, telling the exact same story, not huge differences, in the overall scheme of what we're seeing on screen, but it manages to look and feel different and justify the fact that there is a remake of this. I mean, how many times we say, "Oh God, there's a remake"? Do we need a remake? Like, they're doing a new Harry Potter TV show. Do we need a Harry Potter TV show? I don't think so. The films are still in the zeitgeist. Do you need that? I don't know. It does enough different and has enough time has passed and enough creative, juices have flown to sort of, justify what they're doing here. But I love it. I think there's a couple bits that maybe I don't love as much. I think the drugging scene is better in the first iteration. I think there's just a lot more creativity going on there. I think some of the voiceover doesn't quite work. There are a handful of times where Mitchum's voiceover is basically just giving us exposition as to what is literally happening on screen. That is not to say this is not a great film. I think this is a wonderful, wonderful film. Dark, sleazy, just a great adaptation of Chandler's work, because, how many adaptations of Chandler are actually good?
So, how about you, Matt? And let's not forget, of course, this is technically the third version of the book.
Yes.
We've got to talk about the Falcon. But no, we don't, because we do that on a different podcast, don't we?
Yeah.
We did. I love this film. I think this is one of my favourite neo-noirs. Certainly one of my... I wouldn't like to put a piece of paper between this and Murder My Sweet as to my favourite Chandler adaptation, but I reckon I could change my mind each day on that. But it's so good. What would tip it for me being my favourite is the Sylvia Miles performance as Jessie Florian, which is played for laughs in Murder My Sweet, but is played for absolute tragic loss in the 75, and that would just tip it for me, I think. I like Mitchum as an older Marlowe. This is what I can imagine Marlowe sort of ages into. I know it's not the age he would have been in the period, but I can get over that. And I like the fact that he does make an issue of how old he's feeling. I think one of the voiceover lines is, maybe I was just getting old. And I like the fact they don't make a joke of it. Like when Indiana Jones came back in Crystal Skull and they were making a joke every couple of minutes early on about how old he was, and he thought the truck was nearer and all this business. And I think, I can't be doing with that. But when Robert Mitchum says, maybe I'm just old, then I believe it. And I can believe that the life he's led makes him prematurely age in outlook of life, at least. And I think Mitchum catches that. There are issues with it, I agree. There are some issues with it, but they don't detract from it as a whole for me. And this would be a way up there as a top Chandler adaptation and a top neo-noir for me.
I mean, it's a strong adaptation, I think, made by people who wanted to do the book.
And a great theme. A lovely theme.
Oh, the music by David Shire. Fantastic.
David Shire's theme is just beautiful.
Great. Yeah, no, I bought the LP when it came out. So there you go. So I used to have that. So, yeah.
Well, that's an Amazon search when we finish.
You can get it on CD, and it's a terrific CD.
Excellent.
Well, guys, I think that was a brilliant top 5 that became a top 10, strictly speaking. Obviously feeling a bit sorry for Luke because he's got a lot of films he's got to go and rewatch, frankly, because, and sorry about that. But that was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. So just to tie this one off, I wanted to ask you both if you wanted to do a quick recommendation of a film noir that you've seen that you'd like the listeners to maybe reacquaint themselves with. Who wants to go first?
Matt, I gotta think.
Well, so many. All the ones I've mentioned. I'm going to say a film that Luke introduced me to recently. And that's going to be Hell or High Water.
Sorry, that's just so funny.
What did he say?
You've just stolen his.
Oh, have you really?
It's the one he was going to do. I'll cut this out, I swear. But that's really funny.
You can leave it in. I can handle it.
Leave it in. Because at the outset you said we'd not crossed over, and now we...
Well, yeah, but,
finally.
You have now. Yeah.
Do you want me to choose another one, Luke?
No. Nah.
Yeah. Hell,
Good.
I didn't know anything about it. Never heard of it. it totally passed me by. He mentioned it in a text, and I watched it, and I was absolutely blown away by it.
Made by David Mackenzie, Scottish director.
With and Jeff Bridges at his laconic best, I think is best. and one of my favourite scenes of recent years, which is the diner scene in the steakhouse, where the waitress's question is, "What don't you want?"
I love that scene.
Well, it turns out Bridges has appeared in a lot of neo-noir movies, if you actually tot it up.
Yeah.
In the 70s, in the 80s.
Yeah,
and then this as well. It's so interesting. So, Luke, anything you would like to recommend?
I do. I might give a cheeky 2 because I don't know how you'll react to the first one. It's on Letterboxd, so it's technically a movie. I highly recommend going back and watching the 2-hour premiere or the pilot for Miami Vice. It's fantastic. Michael Mann's produced show. It's
got to be better than the movie, right? Because the movie
it's
really
light years
blows.
better than the movie.
Yeah.
It's light years better. I have fallen in love with Miami Vice. I didn't watch it when I was a kid, which is weird because a lot of these things were on repeats in the 90s when I was growing up. But this one just sort of passed me by. But it was always sort of, in my mind. And it was on Prime, and I thought, let's watch Miami Vice. And then I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
This has no right to be a weekly TV show in the 80s. This is film quality. It maintains that. From what I've seen, it has maintained that. But the pilot episode is two 40-minute episodes. Was shown as one thing. Fantastic. Great story, great cast, great visuals, deliciously neo-noir. And not as 80s cheesy as pop culture likes people to It's kind of has that Star Trek TOS curse where everyone remembers TOS being cheesy and Kirk and Shatner overacting. Well, there's moments, but he's actually a good actor. Or the whole kind of Kirk is womanizer and he's always making out with people. Picard makes out with women far more than Captain Kirk. Thank you very much.
Well, they made a lot more episodes, be fair.
Compare the 3 seasons. I guarantee you, Picard does it more even still. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. That's my recommendation.
Great. By the way, I recently came across the fact that Prime has got the original pilot for Cagney and Lacey, which co-starred Loretta Swit, the late Loretta Swit. In the role that Sharon Glass made famous. But in between, of course, we had Meg Foster playing the role. So there are 3 people playing it. But the TV movie, well worth looking. It's a pilot, so it's like a 95-minute movie. And it's there on Prime, so it might be worth a look. Thank you both so much for being my guest stroke victims. It was so great to get your expertise. And it's lovely of you to come on the show. So thanks very much. And
thanks for having us, Sergio.
And next time, we'll let you see the list, Luke.
There we go.
You have been listening to Tipping My Fedora, the show about all things noir. It is produced for Castiglione Publishing by me, Sergio Angelini, and our theme tune is by Petar Milinkovic, whose work is available through Tailkeeper Music. All audio clips are the copyright of their respective owners, and used under fair dealing and fair use exceptions solely for the purposes of criticism and review. Please subscribe to Tipping My Fedora wherever you get your podcast fix, and it would be great if you could leave ratings and reviews about the show at Apple Podcasts. Be seeing you.